Hello, everybody, and my name is Charlie St. Dennis, editor of the Highland Herald and on the political national news teams. And this is the Veepstakes, a series that we will be running through the month of July and early August as we figure out who would be best and who will be Joe Biden's vice president. I've brought my colleagues from the political team and the 2020 election coverage team, Skylar Prince and Sebastian Cummins, with me. So we're all going to just introduce ourselves, who we want, and get into the podcast. So my name is Charlie. I want Keisha Lance Bottoms or Val Demings because I think that they both would be good because they might not have that super high class experience, but that's one thing you want in a leader is someone that's close to their communities, their neighborhoods, and the people they're representing. I think that's a trait that both of them share. So, yeah. So now let's go to Skylar. Skylar?
Hello, my name is Skylar Prince. I am supporting Elizabeth Warren for vice president because she really knows how to get things done. She definitely has enough experience in just the government to be able to be vice president.
Okay, and Sebastian?
Well, I am supporting Kamala Harris for vice president because she has a decent amount of experience and she knows how to get things done. She'd also be the first African American vice president, in the U.S. So that would be amazing. So I'm supporting Kamala Harris.
Okay, well, thank you. We all have shared our opinions about who we want, and today since it's our first episode of the podcast, we will be going through the 13 women who have been under consideration by Mr. Joe Biden, who is the nominee from the Democratic Party, and why each of them might be chosen or why they might not be. So I'll basically say a little bit about them and then we'll all sort of discuss them. So first on our list is Sebastian's pick, Kamala Harris, who is the senator from California since 2017, former presidential candidate, and served as district attorney and state attorney general in California. She's being pretty seriously considered. She's in the advanced stage of the vetting process, and in my opinion, and in a couple others' opinions, seems like one of the most likely to be picked. Some of her signature issues were proposed cutting middle class taxes. She's been advocating for police reform lately. She also played a pretty high role in the confirmation hearings of Justice Kavanaugh. And yeah, so she has her pros, she has her cons. Sebastian and Skylar, would you like to share your opinions a little bit? Mostly Skylar, because Sebastian, you had said why you want her. So, Skylar, would you like to share your opinion on her?
Yeah. Well, Kamala Harris is definitely a good candidate for vice president. She would be a very competent vice president. And what you've said is true, and that could also make her a good vice president.
Yeah, so what Sebastian said is very true. Not only does she have some good stances on things, but she'd be a pretty historic vice president. First African American vice president, first female vice president, which would be pretty trailblazing, groundbreaking, and just pretty historic. She would not be the first female vice presidential nominee from a major party, because, of course, there was Geraldine Ferraro with Walter Mondale in the 80s, and Governor Sarah Palin from Alaska with John McCain in 2008 against Barack Obama. So there's that, but the fact that she's an African American really makes that pretty historic and groundbreaking. And next we have Skylar's pick, Elizabeth Warren, who is senator from Massachusetts. She's been senator since 2013. Former presidential candidate. She's got a lot on her resume, but I'd say those are probably the main things. She's been pretty seriously spoken about and considered. She is among the strongest contenders or contestants, and her signature issues, she has a lot of them, but she supports taxing the rich, and has long criticized wealth concentration and corporate powers. Although she has some significant ideological differences with Biden, unlike perhaps Kamala Harris or some of the other more centrists or moderates on the list here. So she's got some pros and cons too. Of course, she would not make any history being nominated, but she would make history being if Joe Biden were to win. So Sebastian, would you like to speak about her, since Skylar, she's who you want?
Sure. So my thoughts about Elizabeth Warren are, yes, she would break some barriers. If she would be the first female vice president, that would be groundbreaking. And also, she is very, she's very qualified for the job, I believe. I think she would make a good president. I think all of us who are picking have great choices. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think she would make a great vice president, although I have a couple problems with her possibly being, if she were to be picked, I'd have a couple problems with that. Her seat would, for an amount of time, be replaced by a Republican, likely, knowing because their governor of the state, Massachusetts, is a Republican, Charlie Baker. He would likely appoint a Republican until the special election. And there's that. Also, she isn't a woman of color, and I think a woman of color should be picked, because it's almost a disservice for one not to be picked, knowing that they're the most reliable voting bloc for the Democratic Party. But as Sebastian did say, any of these women would be a great pick. And now we have Keisha Lance Bottoms, who has been mayor of Atlanta since 2018 and served 2 terms on the Atlanta City Council. She, like the other two so far, has been pretty seriously considered. She has drawn a lot of review as her national. She's drawn some pretty closer review as her national profile has grown in recent weeks. So some of her key issues are calling for police reform and racial justice, knowing that Atlanta was one of the cities that had some big protests she quickly called for the firing of the officer who fatally shot Rayshard Brooks, and then announced new restrictions on the use of force by police. So she was an early supporter and endorser of Biden in the presidential race, serving as a loyal campaign surrogate even when he was going further down in the polls. And would Skylar or Sebastian, or both, like to speak about that?
Yeah, I think that what she did with the police was good, because the police have too much power nowadays. I think it's a good decision, is what I believe, to have all these restrictions about the police in Atlanta, because it's one of the most populated cities.
Yep. Okay, and Sebastian, any thoughts, or do you want to skip to the next one?
Well, I think we've heard enough, so I think we can skip to the next one.
Okay. So now we have the other one I had picked, Val Demings, who is been the representative from Florida since 2017, being elected in 2016. Served as police chief in Orlando after a long career there as an officer. She's also been vetted pretty seriously, considered, and she has been an outspoken voice in the House on issues related to gun control and law enforcement, because she is representing Orlando, which has had it's a fair amount of shootings and stuff like that. And she also served as an impeachment manager in the Senate trial of President Trump. It is unclear if she had officially endorsed Biden or not, but they had both campaigned together for Florida Democrats during the 2018 elections. And so Skylar and Sebastian, any opinions?
Well, one opinion that I have is, I think it's great that she's doing that. It's great that she's speaking out for gun control. I think that's really nice and all need right now. So that's great. So I think she's a good pick also.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for listening, and we will be back very shortly. Thank you.